guys, I'm Regional Workforce Development Advisor, and I'm here today to present our next presenter, Helen King. And Helen King is a grants advisor and educator. She's local to Manawatu in Ashurst, to be exact, and she works in the non-profit field for 15 years and currently works with schools, play centres and sports clubs. She completes applications, advising and supporting grants officers in their role. So welcome, Helen.
Thank you very much indeed. Lovely to be here this afternoon as well. Now, I'm aware that I've got a very short amount of time to talk today, so I am going to obviously be talking about grants applications for your organisation. I'm only going to really have the time to touch on a few things, but I'm hoping there'll be a chance to ask some questions, and I'll give you some information to take home with you as well. And we also have Neil today, who's with the Eastern and Central Community Trust, and there may be times that Neil intervenes in my presentation to add something of value as well, so we're going to be working together a little bit here as well. So Jan's obviously given you a little bit of information about myself. I currently work for a variety of organisations, both doing funding applications and educating organisations on how to do effective applications as well. And it is a big deal for a lot of organisations. Grant income is what can make them or break them sometimes and help them go forward with their dreams. So I'm just going to go through some very key things today that I feel that can help you in this process and be successful in this process. Now I think that the way I work and the organisation that I work with, before you even put pen to paper and think about making an application, there are some things you need to think about and do. And the first thing you know before you even start writing anything down is who your organisation is and where you're headed. Because if you don't know that, how are you going to communicate that to a funder effectively? And most organisations, like one now, have key documents in place and key processes that help communicate to funders and to themselves who they are and what they do. Any idea what some of those things might be?
Strategic plan.
Your strategic plan is one of them, and we'll go back a bit from that. So strategic plan is basically the direction that your organisation is going for that year or for the next 3 years, however long you run it for. Go back even further. What are the key things in your organisation that tell you what you are, or who you are, what you're doing, your constitution or your rules? Now, for a lot of organisations, something I notice is these seem to be things that are quite often stuck in a cupboard and nobody reads. But that is your guiding document for who you are, and it's worth taking it and dusting it off a little bit and reading it as well, so you know what the direction of your organisation is. What comes down from that? What's another thing that helps communicate who you are and what you do? Vision. Yeah, your vision. So your vision is you communicating what you want the final outcome of what you do to actually be. What comes after your vision usually? Your mission statement. So these are things that your organisation has come up with that are basically guiding you in your way forward as well. And a lot of people in their organisation also have value statements as well. Okay. What their organisation actually stands for values-wise. And it's these things here that are used to often create your strategic plan, which also feeds into your budget as well. So having a knowledge of all these things before you put pen to paper and actually knowing your organisation will help you when you're actually making that application as well. Now, probably the next thing to even think about when you put pen to paper is finances. Because grants are just one small source of income for your organisation. And before you make a grant application or look for money for a project, it's also worth considering what other options you have financially to fund what you need to do. And generally, in community organisations of any sort, there are 8 main streams of income that you might want to access for your organisation and that can help fund what you do. We'll go through these again together. Any idea what some of those may be? Finance is the first one. One stream of income you can use in your organisation to get you money for what you need to do.
Service-based
Membership. So I'm assuming for most of what you guys do, you would charge a membership fee of some form. Do you raise it on a yearly basis or assess it on a yearly basis? Yeah. Yeah. It is a source of income for your organisation that can obviously help you where you need to be. What else?
Sponsorship.
Sponsorship. Anyone like to give an example of how they're using sponsorship in their organisation?
Historically, we've had a photographer sponsor us, and so they would come to us when we need to take photos, and we would reciprocate through publication and promotion of them as a business.
Cool. So it's kind of a mutually agreeable relationship, where on both sides you're either gaining financially or through some exposure or something like that. So sponsorship can be really key in your organisation. What else?
Fundraising.
Fundraising, yay! From the lovely trusty sausage sizzle to a kind of school ball, there's anything you can do with fundraising really. And these can be really big sources of income for your organisation as well. The great thing about fundraising and what fundraising can achieve for an organisation is also exposure. It's a great way to get yourself out there and into the community and to let yourself be known with what you're doing. So that's one of those wonderful things, along with this, which can actually give you two benefits that aren't just financially related.
As a funder, one of the key things that we look at is what's your stake in the in your application. And we're not too concerned about the dollar value that your club's actually putting into it, but what we are concerned is that your members are behind the project. And so knowing that your members and your membership base is behind that fundraising is a big plus for us as well.
Thank you. Okay, so what other income sources might you have for your organisation? Merchandise for you guys as well. You might actually be selling something. Yeah. That one down there is a little bit different. Merchandise. Spelling. There are a few more key ones. This is something a lot of you have, but I wonder if you actually use. Using your assets. So do many of you have club rooms and things like that? Yeah. Some people might do, might not do. But using your assets as a source of income. For example, our local play centre, which I've been involved with the last 8 years, has got this amazing building that the community built 50 years ago. But it's used all of 15 hours a week. However, we still have the overheads that kind of go with it to cover. So we are asking ourselves the question, how can we use our assets to help us be financially stable and move forward as an organisation as well? What else? We've still got 3 things to talk about.
Donations.
Donations, yay! And donations are an interesting one because they're not just financial either. Donations can come in the form of volunteer labour, and most organisations have a huge volunteer base that can work for them to donate their time. It can come from something as simple as a donation box. It can also come in the form as assets and materials. So there are many things that your organisation can receive donation-wise that will help them move forwards too. Another big one you might not actually be accessing much. Yeah, it's not requests. Yeah. But this is one of those tough ones, because obviously to get a request, it does involve a very sad circumstance. But there are some organisations who use requests a lot in what they do. For example, the Salvation Army is often asking requests and such things like that. And I used to work for Methodist Social Services, and bequests were a huge part of their income as well. So they are a line of income, sad though it is, for some organisations. Anything else that you can think of?
Interest.
Yes, interest is a source of income. If you are in a position to have interest in your savings and bank accounts, yeah, it's interest. Another one that some people obviously don't get sometimes, and have to go over here now, is government funding. So some organisations, such as schools and early childhood providers, maybe give them over a Ministry of Education to run and things like that. And that's often kind of bums on seats dependent. So the more people who are accessing the service, the more finances they're able to gain from that. The point I'm just trying to make from writing this down on here are grants, so they're useful for your organisation. They're just one source of income that you can use. And it's important for any organisation to be financially diverse. And putting your eggs in one basket by just using one stream of funding, for example your membership or your government funding, can actually prove disastrous if that little stream of funding kind of dries up in any way. So use grants as part of your financial picture, but make sure you're diverse as well so that your organisation is secure too. Okay, so we've had a little think about who you are, have a little bit to think about your finances and where your money's coming from. Probably the next thing you need to think about before you even put pen to paper is getting organised a little bit. That's all right. Sitting on a little bit of stuff there. Now, often when I'm working with different organisations, they do talk to me about how hard they find the process of getting all the materials together and providing the right information for funders is. So one thing I talk to organisations a lot is about having one of these as part of your application process. Now, I haven't patented this term yet, but this is my yellow folder of funding happiness. And inside this happy little package of information, and the colour is not specific, I won't be red blue, it can be polka dotted, is every document that I regularly use for funding applications. Because I'm assuming that quite a few of you do applications for your club, and you'll probably find that every time funders are asking for very similar information and documentation as well. So what I do is I get it all in this little space here. So, just simple things, like my charities registration, financial records, deposit slips, letter of affiliation to a national or regional body, budgets, certificate of incorporation. I have copies of basically every essential document in this one place. And what that means is when I'm doing an application, I can literally just sit there and go, oh yeah, oh I need that, I need that, I need that. It's done and it's there. What I also do as well is all this information I scan and get on my computer. Because you guys are probably finding as well that a huge amount of applications are actually online now. So having those all in one place here and on your computer just makes things a lot quicker and easier. What this lovely little yellow folder of happiness means as well is that if you walked out of here today and got ran down by a few rugby players, from your kind of injured situation, you could pass this folder on to somebody else who could continue your work. The idea of something like that is sustainability as well, so you can pass on the information. Because what I hear from a huge amount of organisations is, oh, our grant office is not doing the work anymore. I've got the role now, and I don't know what to do because there's nothing being left for me. So having something sustainable there and in place can just really help your organisation carry on with your grants trends and what you're doing as well. Any questions about that little package just there? Feel free to stop me at any time as well. So once you've got your information in one place, now's a good time to get pen to paper as well. So a few processes to consider even before you do that. So getting applying for your organisation. Neil's actually going to talk, I think, a fair bit more about this than I am, so I'll just touch on a few key points. And again, just feel free to ask questions. I think one of the important things to do is to know who the funders are as well when you're out there. And I'm working with Sports Manawatu at the moment because I have a rather comprehensive list of funders, and we're hoping to get that on the Sport Manawatu website so that people can access that and choose funders that fit their purpose. But there are websites you can go on to that will help you choose your funders as well. If you go on to the Public Trust website, they have a huge list of funders there. The Guardian Trust have lists of funders as well. The Internal Affairs Community.net website, they have good lists of funders as well. So you can access information about funders by going onto those portals. As do the Palmerston North City Council, they have an excellent list of funders on their library site too. Once you know who your funders are, it's a great step next to be able to match a funder to your purpose as well. What the best thing you can do to help be successful, I think, with a lot of applications is look at those fits that happen and look at if the two organisations are actually sharing their values and what they're interested in doing. Obviously, if you're a sports application who's making, a sports organisation who's making an application to a funder who focuses 80% on capital works, your chances of actually getting that money are quite minor because you're not quite fitting in with what their beliefs are. So look for a fit with the organisation that you're asking for funding from. And remember as well that it is about partnerships too. You're looking to partner together for a common aim and to achieve something wonderful. So the closer that your purposes align with those you're asking for funding for, hopefully the more likely you are to be successful as well. When you've actually identified where you're going with that, obviously think a little bit about the application form and answering your questions well as well. Funders will want documents such as the ones that we've talked about here, and make sure you provide that information to them in a comprehensive form and everything is there as well. I know from experience that missing things out of funding applications can often mean that they come back to you, which isn't a great use for your time. So make sure everything's comprehensively done there too. And Neil, I believe, is going to talk a little bit about different applications that work well and don't work well so much as well. Any questions from you guys yourselves about making applications? Some of the issues you might be having, questions to answer.
Look, from a funder's perspective, you facilitate a number of different points of call for conduit's sake within the community. How does the community actually find out about those particular presentations?
I can give you information about that at the end of the seminar to go on from there. Is your question?
Yeah, or just for the sort of general public.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'll give you information just at the end of the session that gives you a little bit more information about that as well. Is this a good point, Neil, for you to perhaps move into what you were talking about there about the application?
Hi everyone, my name is Attapattu and I'm one of the donation professors for Eastern and Central Community Trust. Today what I'm going to try and talk to you about or get a view of is what it's like from a funder's perspective when we get these applications coming through. But before I start, I need to confess I've tried to keep this as generic as I possibly can, but I've only ever worked for Eastern and Central Community Trust as a donation advisor, so you might find some parts that are probably more specific to our organisation. So yes, just on that there, we love the underdog, and I think quite often the club treasurer is very undervalued in club sports because they do help keep the glue together. I guess as a funding organisation, we're fully aware that the club treasurer is juggling a lot of different roles. You've got family, you've got children, you've got jobs, and then you're volunteering as in a committee trying to get things done. And trying to get things done as quickly as possible is very important. And then you get a funding application which is asking for thousands of bits of information. You think, oh gosh, I've got to do this 10 times round for different organisations. On the flip side, you've got the donations assessor. And literally that is a picture of me. I do get that pale during the deadlines for our funding applications coming through. We get a huge amount, and so the key for us is trying to get the key information as quickly as we possibly can to assess it and make a recommendation for the plant board going through. The funder's dilemma. I guess at the end of the day, there's one key problem. There's not enough funds to go around. You'll ask, well, why can't we just have the money? The fact is that we've got far more applicants wanting far more dollars than we've actually got to give. And so we've got to make some choices there. In the ECCT, for example, we've got 3 times the amount of money being requested from us than we've actually got to give in each dimension. So, for that reason, it makes it vital that your applications stand out amongst the rest. I got the following quote from one of our sister trusts, Trust Waikato. They did a survey between successful and unsuccessful applicants and found that the most successful ones shared 4 key attributes. And these are knowledge about the range of funding sources and their suitability for particular project purposes, which is what Helen was talking about before. Realistic in the approach to funding, experience in preparing applications, and aware of how applications are assessed. And I'm just going to briefly go over some things that Helen talked about there too. To save time by being organised, know your funder. Get lists of funders through websites such as the ones that Helen mentioned, and also there's one called Give Us.
No.
Give Us is actually quite a good site. If you're a library member, you can log into Give Us for free, and it'll ask you a few questions about your club, and it'll come up and give you a number of different organisations that might be able to help you in terms of funding. Go to our website. There's lots of useful information there. Also, most organisations will have a list of what we've funded before. And so that gives you an idea of what sort of things organisations will fund and won't fund. And if in doubt, give us a call. Quite often a 5-minute phone call could save you hours of work. I know I work as a voluntarily as a treasurer for a community organisation, and we put out lots of applications to different organisations for funding, and we probably have a success rate of like 5%. So by just calling someone and saying, hey, look, do we fit your criteria, it just save that much time. Going back to what Helen was talking about in terms of that kit, you might want to look at your potential funders and rank them in terms of how likely you'll get funding from them and focus on your key ones as well. And also, use funders to make the project or what you're applying for better. There's lots of useful information on their websites. There's templates you can use. So doing the research on your project so you're clear about what you're doing makes it easier for us to say yes to you going through. And there's lots of tools out on the web that can help you with that. Developing a funding kit. I'll quickly cover that because Helen's covered most of that. But one of the things there too is you might want to create an annual funding application calendar so you know when the deadlines are for different organisations and have that on Outlook or something like that so you've got a reminder to say, hey, look, I've got to get this application through.
Yeah, can I just interject there just about a bit more on that? Funding calendars are a wonderful thing to have because, again, it's a clear document that you're making that you can share with your organisation so everyone knows what they're going. And when I work with organisations, what I like to do is normally do it at the beginning of the very year, after we've actually done our strategic plan and our budget. So we're looking at where we're going from that point down. And when I do applications as well, I'm actually quite grant heavy at the beginning of the year, especially for projects that are happening later in the year. So it gives me a little bit of time. If the plan doesn't quite work and I get a refusal, it means I actually have the time to go, okay, can I look for another source of funding here as well? If you keep your calendar up to date and you're recording things about your successes or your partial funding, then it's a communication tool with the rest of your organisation about where you're going there as well.
Thanks, Helen. That's a really good point. as a funder, the amount of information we want is quite often relative to how much you're asking us for. If it's a smaller amount, we don't expect a huge amount of information. But if you ask for $300,000, then yes, you do like a lot more information. I'm just going to briefly cover some larger projects, like if you want to put an extension on your club room or resurface your tennis court or something along those lines. Track. One of the key things is going back to scarce resources. If you can collaborate with other clubs that could use your facility, you're going to get more points. So because we want, as a funder, we want to get more bang for our buck. So more people using and getting value out of the money that we're putting into a club, the more likely you get more money from us going through as well. So looking to see who else could share it. What are the numbers using your organisation? Give us a usage plan. What are the long-term maintenance costs? How will you meet those costs? Give us a maintenance plan with the numbers behind it. How far away is your next closest facility? Are we doubling up? You know, is there another club that's down the road? I'm going to give you a good example. Recently I had an application from a tennis club that wanted to put up some new changing room facilities by the courts. But they were fairly close to a school, and at the moment the school's given them their pool changing rooms for use. But now they want to create this new building there. For us as a funder, we know that the school is going to apply to us to maintain this changing room. And now the club is asking us for a new changing room. For us, it makes more sense for the two to collaborate and maybe put more money into the existing facilities and expand it rather than give a new facility. That's a win-win for us. It's a win-win for the organisations as well, because now rather than having the school trying to maintain it by themselves, as Helen was talking about, you've got two organisations that have got money to put towards maintaining the facilities. So collaboration is a big one for us, and you win lots of brownie points from our funders when you do that. Yeah, and look at ways of how you can make us, give us certainty that the facility will be used and maintained in the long term. An example for us is we funded an organisation or a community group that told us that they needed a hall, a memorial hall in Gisborne, and it was quite an expensive project, and they gave us all the information, told us how great it was and how well it would be used. And so we funded it, and at the moment it's used like 10% of the year of that. And the reason was there wasn't enough research done. They wanted to bring people like the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra into Gisborne and use this facility, and it was designed to cater for that. But the organisations there didn't have the money to bring these organisations into it to do it. So now we've got this huge big asset that's just having to be maintained with very little use. So give us some certainty that this is going to be used. What are the numbers? Is your club expanding? Is the role, the numbers of people joining your club, membership base, is it getting bigger? And also the larger projects, approach us early, way before you even think about applying for funding. And we can help you work through that process all the way through. I've given you two real life applications. One is a really good one, the Martinborough Tennis Club. The other one was a not so good one. Now I've got permission from both sharers and both organisations that they're happy for their names to be on it, but I thought to be fair. Oh, sorry, that's the other one. Oh, sorry. So you got Martinborough and the rugby club one.
There's one more.
So with the rugby club one, which was the not so good one, they gave me permission to use it as well, but to be fair to the organisation, I went in and changed the name of it. I didn't realise that I forgot to change it in one place, so but they didn't give me permission to give it with their name on it. So But yeah, so in that rugby club one, traditionally, if that came to us like that, we would have probably declined it up front. But I could see that there was actually a bit of value in what they were doing, and we got Port Manawatu involved with that rugby club, and we redigged it, and they gave us a much better application further down the track, and they got funding for their project. But it's just, if they had contacted us early, we could have walked through that process and made life a lot easier for them and us going through as well.
That's your research, isn't it, before you file and
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll get into that in a little more detail if you have time. About 10, and I'm going to cut that. So one of the key things is know yourself. One of the first things I will do, I'm required to ensure that the organisation we're lending to is sound, that we haven't got people who are stealing money, the treasurer is not a thief taking money from the club and doing different things. So one of the first things I do when I get an application is I'll do a Google search on the club, and I'll do a Google search on some of the key members, people associated with the club. And it's quite easy, I did a quick one just the other day to create this. And there's frauds, softball club captain sentence, and grant funding fraud. It goes across. So I'd urge you to do the same on your own club and your own key people before you send an application through. And just because you might have had some history beforehand, that doesn't mean you won't get funding. But tell us what you've done in the club to prevent that sort of incident occurring again. Okay, so just because you've had something bad doesn't prevent you from having funding. Make sure you tell us. We wouldn't want to find out by ourselves and then say, oh, well, hang on, you guys, you had a club captain that did this, we're not too keen to support you. So yes, that's probably a key one there. We do get a lot of that, surprisingly.
Just on that, if you were collaborating with other clubs, you would all need to do it to make sure that one of the clubs that you're not collaborating with dodgy as well?
And that's part of your research too, because if you're in partnership with somebody, you want to make sure that the person you're in partnership with is sound, and they're not going to drag you down.
Yeah, cool.
Be clear on what the funds will be used for. You'd be amazed at the number of applications I get, and there's no clear line of what's this money going to be used for. Ensure you tell the funder what you have done to help yourself. This is quickly going back to what Helen said, fundraising. We're not too concerned about how much you've raised, but the fact that the club's got behind it and done a sausage sizzle and different things tells us that the membership base is behind it. So we don't want to put money into it. There's only 2 or 3 members that are keen to drive this new club, and everyone else thinks it's a bad idea. But that sort of stuff tells us that the community's behind it. Is your website up to date? I'll quite often look at your website, and then I'll compare the information on your website with your application. And if they don't marry, then I'm thinking, well, hang on, how good is the club? What's their management like? What's the truth? Which one do I listen to? Do the financial reports show that you're financially viable? We are required to ensure that when we provide funding to an organisation that they are viable. And we do what's known as an asset test, which is you take your current liabilities and divide it with current assets. And ideally, you've got a figure greater than 1 based on that. So when we talk about current liabilities, sorry, you go back to my bank days. Current liabilities are debts that you've got to pay within the next 12 months. Current assets are usually things like cash or things that you can liquidate into cash within the next 12 months. And so we want to make sure that you're viable financially. And often smaller clubs aren't, but that's all right. So long as you've got a plan to get through that and you know that you're in that situation, you can tell us that, hey, look, we're aware that we're here, but we're doing this, this and this to address that going through. And the last but very important one is if we've given you funding before and you've got an accountability report and you haven't completed that accountability report, you're not likely to get funding from us until we see an accountability report. So make sure you have the accountability report possibly in that calendar we were talking about before as well.
Just to interject as well, Lenny, I think that's the same for most funders. I'm working for a new organisation and I had a phone call today, because I just put in an application saying, hey, we've got an outstanding report from a few years ago. So records are kept of that kind of thing. And your accountability is a really important part of the process. And I think a few people do sometimes kind of treat it like an end product. But it's that communication about how you spent that money to do something amazing for your community, and communicating that to the funder who is invested in you as well is very important.
Next thing I want to talk about is being strategic. You know, if you're applying to us for operational grants or administration costs, quite often I see applications saying, oh, we want to buy a photocopying machine, or we want to buy paper, or whatever it is. Make it easy on yourself and just put operational grant. The reason for that is we won't then go back to you and say, exactly what did we spend that on? We know it's operating costs. We've got your financials. We know how much your operating expenses are. So you don't, in your accountability report, we won't ask you to pull out the receipts for the reams of photocopying paper you bought and that sort of stuff. Also, be clever about that too. If your club is trying to raise money for another asset, you know, let's say, I don't know, more gear, cricket bats and the like. What you could possibly do is, if you know an organisation is likely to give you $5,000 for an operational grant, apply for that operational grant, and that way the money that you would put towards operational costs can now come across onto purchasing that gear going through. Also, get to know your funders, which we talked about before. ECCT, for example, you've got 2 years before you have to draw down funding. So we approve funding to you. You've got 2 years before you actually get that in your hand before you need it. So if you're doing a big project like building a new facility, apply to us first. Then possibly things like lotteries, you've got to have 1/3 of the funds before you can go to them. So having that application approved by us first will actually increase that 1/3 before you go to lotteries going through as well. Just think strategically about that. There's also another part to that too. I work quite closely. We have what we call funders forums, where other funders get together as a group and we talk about what's happening in our industry, so to speak, and how we can do things better. So, and I know that DIA and the information we ask is very similar. So quite often, if they see an application that's come from us first and we've approved it, that gives them some comfort that they're likely to approve it, and vice versa if it's come around the other way. They might DIA has approved it. I won't look at it as closely as I would have if they hadn't approved it. Cool. So time your applications here. We talked about web tools. Get advice from your funders. We talked about that before as well. The write-up. Think like funder. Try and keep it short and to the point, not wordy. Now that's a key one, because quite often I get applications where they try and put lots of information in there, lots of words around it, and I'm trying to go through it and think what's the relevant points. And because I've got so much to go through, I'm skim reading this stuff, and quite often it's easy for me to miss some of the key points that would make a difference to your application. So, try and use bullet points going through if you can. If your club does things that's outside the box that helps your community, tell us about it. We like to get more bang for our buck, so even though you're applying for new club rooms, but your junior club members go out there and mow elderly people's lawns, or we've got a boxing club in Hawke's Bay that, as part of the junior team or the junior members, they come to training, but they've also got to provide some volunteer work within the community as part of being a member of that club. So by them telling us that adds more kudos to the club, and we're more likely to give them more funding going through as well. Give clear, honest answers to straight questions. One thing that frustrates me significantly is when we get an application that says, what is your membership base? And it's got up to, says it at this number, or about this, So what we're looking for there is, what's your paid membership base? Tell us what that is. I can find that out, and sometimes when I don't, I'll contact Sport Manawatu and say, what do you know about this club? Or go to your website, and we can get extra information going through that way. So be honest, be clear, because it's easier to be found out, and if you're found out, then chance of getting funding further down the track is also hindered as well. Has your members got a stake in the project? What has the club done to help themselves? So we talked about that before. Before submitting, get someone who is not familiar with your club to read the application. Can that person understand what you've said? If they can't, it's highly unlikely that I'll be able to understand it. So make sure they understand it, and then that tells them that you've got a good application.
I think that's key, Neil, because even as someone who does this a lot, especially when I'm writing a covering letter or fill out a form, I usually get a second or third pair of eyes to look at it, to make sure I'm being accurate, to make sure I can be understood, and to make sure I'm actually speaking for the people I'm working for in a positive and very accurate and convincing way as well. So getting that second eye is really important.
What we'll do is we'll quickly jump through to these applications. Now, if you have a look at the rugby one, I'll get you to have a look at the Martinborough one in your own time, but in my mind, the Martinborough one was a blue chip application. There is a lot of words in there, but they're all mostly relevant to the application going through. So it's a bigger application, but so if you have a look at the rugby community meeting room, so okay, summary, yep, that's all right. If you go down, further down the background here, the community need for this facility, so looking on that first page, there's a picture of some rugby players playing, and then that paragraph below that. The community need for this facility at Smiths Park is very high. Why is it high? You know, anyone can say it's high, but I don't know why it's high. The facility will be used for meetings, coaching sessions, and seminars. But so when I read that, I'm saying, yep, okay, well, it might be reasonably high for the rugby club, but you talk about the community needs of this facility at Smiths Park is very high. So where's the community benefit going through? It will also be the host building for the Rugby Referees Association. There will be a holding weekly upskilling sessions. So again, it's all part of rugby. The facility will be open to all rugby union 17 representative rugby teams to use. I specifically told this particular applicant that our trust, there may be other trusts that this is important to, but for our trust, we're interested in grassroots rugby. We're not interested in funding rep teams because that's not what we're about. We're not saying that that's important, but that's not us. That's not our space. So, okay, wait, you know, we want to know about the grassroots. How many little school teams are using your facilities is what we want to know. Touch team and the the Softball Association have also indicated the facility would benefit them immediately. And they put, and I'm thinking indicated. Well, what does that mean? And if you compare this, I'm going to pull it out now, but if you compare it to the Martinborough one, the Martinborough one says we have got MOUs with these other organisations, and that MOU is attached to the back of this application. Okay, so there's a huge difference. I'm thinking, well, okay, anyone can indicate it, but we want to know that they're going to be using it, you know? So now I'm thinking, well, if we do fund this, how much am I going to fund going through? Next one. There's no other current options on the site to cover the needs of this user group. So, well, this club, they tell me it's been around for 100 years. So where have they been, what have they been using up till now, you know? So why is it needed suddenly now, but you've been in existence for 100 years? Then further down on that paragraph, all users are already at overflowing capacity where they are based, and this would ease the pressure of other facilities keeping up with so many groups. So if that's the case, why haven't we got letters of intent from these other groups coming through? Collaboration and benefits. The wider community benefit is substantial. Why is this substantial? Without development coaches, referees, players, again, he's talking about wider community benefit, but then the examples he's talking about is rugby again. So what I'm saying, prove this with MOUs or at least letters of intent from the organisations coming through. The new facility would improve the experience of volunteers, leading to a longer involvement in sport in the community. Well, how? How will it do that? They're given a site plan, that's good. And the proposed usage schedule, again, so they talked about these other clubs, these other codes that will be using this facility. But yes, it's good from our point of view that in the morning, Health Pacifica groups will be using the facility. But in the evenings, all I'm seeing is again rugby going through. So what other community groups are going to benefit from this? And these, so asset description, what user needs must the facility meet? That's actually a question I posed to the applicant when they sent us the first application prior to this one. And so the facility will meet the needs of the user through having a safe, clean, warm environment. So what we're talking about is what scoping have you done? You know, how do you know that this building, what you're proposing to build, is the right fit for what you need going through? Or so immediately reading that tells me they haven't done their research behind this. They just picked the cheapest building that they can find to chuck it, put it in there. So, so that's not a good start. Is the proposed solution reasonable considering costs, access to the community and community use and impact on other facilities? The facility is most definitely reasonable considering costs. At least 6 users groups from other communities have indicated their desire to utilise the building. Well, we're talking about funding over $100,000 here, so that's not good enough for us. Next page, third point, last paragraph there. So, how will the building be future-proofed? And their response isn't probably a lack of understanding in terms of what we meant by future-proofing. So in this situation, when I'm talking about future-proofing is, okay, you talked about having video camera going through, will you have ultra-fast broadband, what other needs, how do we know that in 20 years' time that this building will still be valid, or is it likely to need to be rolled down in 10 years because your club's expanded so much, there's not enough room in there. So the question is, how have you future-proofed it? And again, because the answer there suggests to me that he wasn't sure what we meant by future-proofing. He could have saved some time by just giving us a call at that point. And again, project management. These are questions that I've asked. Who will own the building? That mistake there. Is it being built on council land? Yes, so that's fine. So he's given us a little bit of detail there. But further down, what community groups were consulted? So they've got Smiths Park user groups and extra groups. Well, I'm thinking, well, who are they? You know, give us some proof. Who will project manage the work? Well, Joe Smith, yeah, but I need a little bit more. What's his experience of building? How do we know that it'll be built according to plan and within a budget and that sort of stuff? So yeah, so if you look at the next one, have all costs been considered? Give us a budget. Our building quotes, fixed price quotes, yes. How do we know that? Because on your quotes it doesn't say it's a fixed price quote. What are the estimated fit-out costs and how will these be funded? 50K fit-out costs, we will cover the costs. How? The financials I've got don't show that you've got the ability to do it, so how are you going to cover it? Is it likely that the nation's approved? That one's fine. And that last one. So what I'm looking for there is, okay, if you're going to have other user groups using this facility, how are you going to manage it? So in that answer, I need a little bit more detail. We need to know who is going to manage it, what role within your club is going to manage it, and how is that going to be managed? How are those organisations, how's the community to know that you need to contact this person if you want to use this facility going through? Long-term sustainability, we need a plan, we want a maintenance plan, we need to know, you know what the costs are and you know how you're going to fund those costs. That doesn't mean that you can't apply to us for funding some of that maintenance cost, but we want to know that you know what those costs are. Can intended users access the facility? And it's great, they're looking at giving it free, but again, without a maintenance plan and an income schedule, how can you offer it for free when you've still got costs to maintain it? So we want to understand that. Will the facility be used in 25 years' time? Yes. Yes. Not quite the answer I was looking for. A little bit more detail on that one. So yeah, so I guess when you read that and then have a look at the other one, I'm just running out of time. So I'd urge you to have a look at the other, the Martinborough Tinsport one. That is a Rolls Royce compared to this. It was so easy to approve. I mean, I've literally got 180 applications to assess in 2 weeks. It makes life a lot easier. Any questions?
Trying to find what you're looking for in the, will the facilities still be used in 25 years' time? What sort of things are you looking for in it?
I guess, you know, what we're looking for is, you know, that you know your community, you know that the numbers that's going through. So if you're, let's say, we're looking at Shannon, and there's a rugby club in Shannon, but the numbers in Shannon, the statistics show that it's a declining population base. Well, okay, well, how do we know that this building will still be valid in 15 years' time, let alone 25 years' time? You know, there'd be hardly any people there at that point to do it. So we want to know that you've looked at those sorts of things. Also, things like if you're looking at a complex that's available for other community groups, walls that can be moved, you know, ones like these here, other factors that show that your multiple use facility going through. You consider the population base statistics, demographics, that sort of thing. So if you were building if you wanted to replace your existing building? Right, so upgrade it and make some changes. Yeah, so usually for the larger applications, we will actually go on site and meet with the applicant and have a look at the facilities going through and make an assessment. And sometimes we might even fund, to give you an example, when schools apply to us for school pools, generally we will automatically, even before the donation comes up to us, we will pay for a pool engineer to go in and assess the pool, and so that way we know that what they're applying for is the most important thing that needs to be done on school pool. And so quite often we may look at, depending on what it is and what the community benefit is, we may look at helping you get assistance to ensure that what you're looking at doing is actually quite feasible. Absolutely. Yep, give me a call.
Thank you. So on behalf of School Number 2, just want to say thank you to Neil and Helen for their giving us their wealth of knowledge and their funding experience. So thank you, Neil.